Hello and welcome to Slow Pit Stop, the international Formula One podcast by fans for fans all around the world. My name's Arafat, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host Mohammed. Say hi, Mohammed.
Hello.
And welcome everyone to our 100th episode, which is kind of our 100th episode. Regular listeners will have noticed there's been a long gap between our last episode and this one. We did actually record another one in between, but we ended up not putting it out because I think both of us were so busy with work that neither of us uploaded it. And then we were like, wow, there's been a whole extra Grand Prix since then. But also what I think was quite funny is that episode, I think we mostly talked about Daniel Ricciardo, but then half the episode was just me and you scrolling through Auto Trader at second-hand Ferraris, being like, oh, here's one that's like 6 times the price of my house. Oh, here's one that's 7 times the price of my house. Oh, this one has a low mileage. And then that got me thinking. So through the years or however long we've been doing this, we acquired listeners from all over the place. North America, Africa, Europe, Asia, a lot of people in India. For some reason, we've not quite cracked South America. But anyway, what I was thinking was we kept commenting on, oh, this car's got low mileage, this car's got low mileage, when we were looking at Ferraris last time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, okay, me and you are the only people that live in these backward countries that use miles or miles per hour. See these other places that measure everything in kilometers. What do they call mileage? Do they call it kilometerage?
That's so weird.
This car's got no kilometerage.
Is it meterage?
The
meterage of the car.
If you're listening from a more sophisticated country, please get in touch at Slow Pit Stop on Instagram or Twitter.
Also, it is our 100th episode. Oh, sorry, finish. Let us know.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Let us know what you call
that's okay.
mileage in your country.
Yeah. Mileage.
I was going to say, this is our 100th episode, but actually, if you count it, I think we hit 100 a long time ago, because if you add all of our donuts and drivers and our random...
Count, yes.
Yeah, our non-race review episodes, and if you count the stuff we did before we were Slow Pit Stop, this is actually far beyond 100. And then that's not even including the lost episodes that we're not publishing because we forgot to publish them. I was watching this show called Fringe. I don't know if you've heard of it in the UK. It came out some time ago. It has Joshua Jackson, who's like a big rom-com guy. But anyway, it's a show called Fringe, and I'm rewatching it on HBO Max. And as I was watching it, I came across an entire episode I hadn't seen before, and I didn't recognize it at all. And I looked it up, and it was a lost episode that was never aired because of an accounting error. And when I watched it, I was like, what does that mean? How can you not air an entire episode due to an accounting error? But now we've done that. We've not aired an entire episode due to an accounting error. So maybe we'll put it out later in the future, and you guys will listen to it and be like, what? This is the year 2028. Why are they talking about Daniel Ricciardo and Ferraris? But yeah, that's when we'll put it out. All right, let's get into this one.
So a few things to cover. I want to talk about some commercial side of Formula One stuff first.
Yeah.
And then we'll jump right into the race, talk about the pre-race drama and Red Bull's front bib. Are they cheating? Are they not cheating? Who is cheating? Who isn't cheating? Why is Ferrari not cheating? We'll touch on Daniel Ricciardo again because # lost episode. But also how VCarb is doing and what their plans may be for next year. Let's touch on Mercedes and their abysmal performance. And then I want to touch on Sauber before we end. And then finally, the main talking point that everybody's talking about is the Verstappen and Norris overtaking drama. And what is the letter of the law? What is the spirit of the law? What is true overtaking? What is true defending? We'll get into all of that today. So, rumor has it that Max Verstappen has trademarked the phrase "simply lovely," and in the near future, you'll be able to buy some merch, probably hats and hoodies and whatever. They say "simply lovely." You going to be getting anything?
Probably not, because in America, nobody ever says the word "simply lovely." So if I put it on, I think I'd get a couple different looks, and I don't think they would be good looks. I think people would be like, "What the hell is he talking about? What is simply lovely?" I'd rather stick with my team merch. Of course, it won't be Mercedes, but something that's recognizable.
Ferrari next year.
Exactly.
But speaking of selling merch, Formula One as a whole is trying to get in on the game. We didn't talk about it before. They've made some sort of deal with Louis Vuitton and Moët Champagne or something, blah, blah, blah. Billions and billions of pounds, who cares? More interesting, Formula One has also made a deal with Hot Wheels and
Mm,
Lego because I want to have more kid-friendly merch, really get like kids loving Formula One toys and video games
mhm.
and things from a young age so that they become viewers as they get older. I'm really excited for this. I'm going to go buy some Hot Wheels.
The Hot Wheels look so good. I thought it was like a fan, like 3D rendering of what they would like Hot Wheels F1 to be. And I remember when I saw it like a few weeks ago, I was like, yeah, that looks cool. But now that I realize it's real, it looks so cool. And I'm all for this era of Formula One marketing and merchandising, at least in America, because like this is not something I'm used to. When I first got into the sport, nobody knew what Formula
Yeah,
One was. Some people
yeah.
had heard of Lewis Hamilton and had heard of Mercedes winning, and everybody knows what Ferrari is, but nobody knew what Formula One was. And I don't know if I
Mm,
told you this, maybe I did. A few months ago, like over the summer, I went shopping and I needed to get some clothes because I was going on a little vacation. And as I was shopping, I remember thinking it would be so cool if one of these stores had like some Lewis Hamilton merch. But they won't. And the first store I went into was H&M, and H&M had an entire section of Formula One shirts, and it was literally just the Formula One logo, the
mm.
F1 logo on shirts.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, oh, haha, that's so cool. And then I went to like Aeropostale, and Aeropostale had a bunch of Red Bull shirts, and I was like, oh, what the heck? That's weird. And then I went to another store, and they had a bunch of McLaren stuff, and it was like not like McLaren the car, but it was like Lando and like the
Mm,
McLaren MCL or whatever. And I was like, okay, this is a lot. And then I went to PacSun, and PacSun had all these other and every single store I went to that day had Formula One merch in it. And then I went into the Lego store, and the Lego store had the Lego kits for Formula One.
yeah,
And they've done a good job pushing it. I have to resist giving all my money now because I definitely want to get the Hot Wheels. I want to get the
yeah.
giant for Mercedes Lego kit. The one that's like $100 or whatever. I want to
Yeah, yeah,
get
yeah.
that, but I can't spend all my money on this stuff.
I'm sure we will soon. But I'm excited for it. But in an effort to become more kid friendly, so you have little nibblings. I wonder if you're as familiar with this annoying character as I am. But apparently
Bluey.
at the last race, no, Bluey's not annoying. Bluey's the best thing that ever happened to TV. But the annoying character from YouTube that keeps infecting my life is Blippy.
Oh,
And
that guy,
apparently,
the weird guy.
yeah, so that
Yeah, yeah.
weird guy, Blippy. But like he makes so much money off YouTube. He makes like 2-3 million a year.
Wow.
That purple Lamborghini that he drives around in the videos, that's his car. So apparently he was at the last race filming some official stuff for Formula One
Yeah.
to go onto his channel to make Formula One more kid friendly. But do you know much about Blippy? Have you seen Blippy?
So I don't, but I have a similar story I want to say once you finish
Okay.
this thing about Blippi.
No,
I
no,
don't
no.
know anything
I'm going
about
to get you to
Blippi.
do something in a minute. If you don't know
Okay.
much about Blippy,
I don't know much
I'm
about
going to get
Blippi.
you to do
I've
something
just
in a
seen
minute.
pictures of him but I don't know any about his shtick. I just know he's like a guy.
It's just a really
Um,
annoying show. Like, go on your phone, go onto YouTube. You'll have to mute yourself for like copyright, whatever. But just watch like 10 seconds of Blippy being insane.
let's do it.
And
Oh,
like, give us your live reaction. Tell us what you're watching, what's
all
going on.
right. I'm just going into my phone. I've opened YouTube and I'm typing in Blippi. And I'll just do the first video that comes up. The first video that comes up says, Blippi's Spooky Alligator Trick-or-Treat Adventure. This is already insufferable. And, okay, I've got to watch past this ad. It's an ad for a baby. For me to buy this baby? No, I don't want to buy the baby. Okay, and I've got this, like, show toony. Okay. Oh my god, it's already, like, at 1.5 speed. He's moving at, like, 2 times speed. He looks annoying. Gatorland, Orlando, Florida. Oh my god. Okay, I'm turning it off. That's 20 seconds that I lived through.
So it's fine. Like my kids watch it, they like it. He basically goes to different like soft play centers and
Yeah.
zoos and parks and whatever, things that kids do. And each episode is basically an advert for that place. And he
Yeah.
plays like he's a kid. But he has this like weird mannerisms that makes him kind of annoying. Look at his Wikipedia page. I just want you to type Wiki Blippy onto your phone.
Okay, Wiki,
Yeah, Blippy.
Blippy,
Go to his Wikipedia page. There's a section of his Wikipedia page called Steezy
Stephen
Grossman.
John. Stephen John, better known by his alias Blippy. He looks so normal without the whole getup on. Steezy Grossman started making
Yeah.
gross out videos in 2013 under the persona of Stevie Grossman. In a 2013 video, he performed the Harlem Shake on a Oh, I can't read the rest of this. What? I can't read the rest of this. Oh my God. And I'm not reading the text that you just sent me either, because that's insane. My God. What the heck is this? He was trying to make it big. I respect the grind, but I would never do it myself.
He went from that to one of the most popular children entertainers in the world. That even Formula One is partnering with him because he's like tapped into so many kids around the world. But whatever you're doing right now, pause. If you're driving, if you're in the middle of the highway, just stop your car. You're fine.
Oh my God.
Go look at who Blippi used to be before he was Blippi.
I just want to say one thing. I think it's great that they're reaching out to kids because a couple races ago, I think it was Miami. It might have been Miami. They partnered with this YouTube account called Dude Perfect. Have you heard of them? So Dude Perfect is like 4 guys. They've gotten weirdly like Christian recently. They didn't start out religious, but they were 4 guys who used to do trick shots with basketballs. And it started with like really basic stuff like in their house. And then they got so much money they have an entire studio now where all they do is trick shots. And all these like 9 through 13-year-old boys watch their videos throughout America. Like they're so popular. And so they did this thing where they got like paddock passes and they got to go behind to the actual paddock during what I'm pretty sure it was Miami. And they put a video out called High-Fiving Every Formula One Driver. And my nephew is a huge Formula One fan, but he's also a huge Dude Perfect fan. So when that video came out, it literally made his year. He was like crying. He was like, "This is the matchup I've always dreamed of. It's Dude Perfect high-fiving the Formula One drivers." And they high-fived everybody except Lewis because Lewis didn't realize what was going on and he just walked past them. But they high-fived everybody else. And I really think it's the right move. And I think I don't know. I'm from America. We commercialize and merchandise everything, literally everything. So for me, I don't see anything wrong with Formula One becoming more commercialized and merchandised out there because I think this is really good, and I'm excited that it's reaching more people. The other day, somebody asked me, what sport are you into? And I said Formula One, and it didn't sound so crazy. And they're like, "Oh, Formula One! I've been trying to get into that, but I wanted to watch the Netflix documentary, and at least people know about it." So I like it. I personally am a big fan about this whole thing.
Yeah, I think it's good. Should we get into the race and all the other things we want to talk about?
America. This was on me. I apologize to everybody in the world because I went to the last 2 United States Grand Prix, and through my hopes and wishes and prayers alone, I got to see Lewis on the podium both times. Had I done so this year, he would have been on the podium. So I apologize to everybody. My absence is what caused
Did you hear what happened to the track because of people that behave like you?
Yes, but I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner. Okay, you say because it was worse when I was there in person.
Yeah, so a bunch of people stormed the track, jumped over the walls, all this kind of stuff, while cars were still on the track. You know, when they were like cooling down at the end of the race, people ran to go look at the podium, and so the track has been fined a certain amount. It's like a suspended fine. I think it's like $500,000 or whatever. To improve safety or whatever.
And I'm not surprised, and I'm shocked that this is the first year that's happened. Last year, like there were so many police officers at the stands to keep people from rushing onto the track when there's live cars, and people probably got onto the track the minute the last car was off because it was so soon. I'm shocked they didn't get fined last year. So that was the least surprising thing that I heard this entire weekend.
But yeah, so before the weekend even started, though, there was drama. If anyone's wondering what all that slurping is, it's Mohammed being unwell.
Oh my God, is it so loud?
Yeah,
fine. I'll mute myself when I.
He's having his Lemsip or whatever it is.
I'll mute myself when I slurp
to like try and fix himself. But yeah, so the drama started before the weekend even started, which there was some accusations of cheating in the Red Bull car because they had some sort of mechanism inside the car that allowed them to control the height of the front bib, which is a section just under the front of the car.
All right, let me just say something, Arafat, before you continue.
Okay.
I've been so busy at work, so busy, that I just like have tuned into Twitter for moments at a time, and all I see is everyone talking about bibs. And in America, a bib is what a baby wears on their like front thing here to collect the food that they spill out of their mouth because they're babies and they can't swallow. What is going on? And then everybody's saying this is the greatest cheating scandal in the history of the sport, and other people saying there's literally nothing wrong with it. So I have no idea what is this front bib thing is. Just tell it to me like I'm a baby. What is the front bib?
So just under the front of the car, there's a section that sort of comes out. Sometimes people call it the tea tray because you could put little cups of tea on it. That section, you can adjust the height of it closer to the ground, higher up from the ground. So when you're qualifying, if you have it close to the ground, you generate more downforce, but the car will scrape across the floor a bit more.
Yeah.
And across a race, when you have lots of fuel, you're not supposed to have the car scrape across the floor too much. They put this like wooden plank underneath, and everybody has to hand it back, and it has to only be worn away a certain amount. You'll remember at the US Grand Prix last time, Lewis was disqualified because that was worn down too much.
I remember very clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whether you're a blessing or a jinx, we're yet to work it out. But the all teams, are able to adjust this. But once you've set the car up, you're not allowed to, once it's quote in parc fermé conditions, you're not allowed to modify it.
Yeah.
So apparently there's some mechanism inside the Red Bull car that allows them to move up and down. Zach Brown freaked out. He was like, they're cheating in between sessions. They're moving this, and Red Bull are like, we can't access this when the car is assembled. And then everybody's like, what is your definition of assembled? Because when the car's in parc fermé, technically it's not like no one can touch it. They take the tires off, they move things around, whatever. So people are like, they can suddenly move this thing in between qualifying, get a good qualifying performance, and then move it in the race to move it upwards. So Zach Brown's freaking out. He's like, why have they got this? This is cheating. This is a huge scandal. And then Christian Horner comes out and goes, I don't know what he's complaining about. We've always had it this way. I mean, we've had this for 3 years. And everyone's like, you've had it for 3 years? Not the best defense. But, so one of the things is no one can prove that they've ever actually used it to cheat. But it, in theory, could allow them to cheat. So the FIA were like, right, put a seal on it so that, if you move it in between sessions, the seal will break and we know that you've moved it. And Red Bull are like, yeah, whatever, that's fine. And so some people are like, clearly they have moved it at some point, they're cheating. Why would you build this thing when no one else has ever built it that way?
Yeah.
The Formula One car is designed to be as efficient as possible. Why is this here? Other people are of the opinion, well, if it was really that good, why is Red Bull doing so badly? Like, who's cheating to finish in like third place? So I don't know. I don't really know what the truth is. But this whole thing of McLaren's cheating with their rear wings, Red Bull is cheating with their front wing, Red Bull is cheating with this device to move the bib up and down, whatever. I just think this is Formula One at its best. It's like drama, it's nonsense. If it was Mercedes, I'd be like, this is totally legal. No one touched Lewis Hamilton. What are you talking about? Blah, blah, blah. This is all great.
No,
and because it's Red Bull, it's like, clearly it's cheating. This is the most awful thing that's ever happened in the sport ever. I just think it's part of the fun of Formula One, and long may it continue.
So I like Lewis Hamilton's response where he said that it's very innovative, and he's like, this is what Formula One is, and he's like, we need to find something innovative too. So I didn't know really, like, had they been proven to show that it can give them an advantage? Because that's always the thing with these things, right? Like DAS, for example, like, yes, it gave Mercedes an advantage, but was it the reason their 2020 car was so dominant? Probably not by itself. So
it's all the things put together, isn't it?
Yeah. So it probably didn't allow their car to be a rocket ship past 3 years.
Yeah.
I don't know. How does parc fermé work? I always thought that they take the cars and they put a little tarp on it, and there's a sign that says "Don't touch parc fermé," and nobody's allowed to touch it. But you're saying they disassemble the cars? That's crazy.
They disassemble, but because to get the engine on in a Formula One car, they've got to do like a million things. It's not like you get into our car and just turn it on. The engine in a Formula One car, because it runs so hot, when it's cold, the bits don't actually fit together properly.
Oh, really? Wow.
So they have these things to like externally warm the engine. I can't remember. I remember watching a YouTube video on it. They put it through like these pipes and stuff, and it starts to warm the engine, starts to get up to temperature. And then as the metal expands, things start to fit where they're supposed to. And then they can get the engine on. There's so much preparation that needs to be done.
I didn't know that.
That actually... Sorry?
I said I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's so much stuff that needs to be done. And obviously take the tires off, and then you clean bits and cool bits and whatever you do. Heat certain bits up. So parc fermé means where things are cannot be moved, and sometimes
Hmm.
you can reasonably change things. So if a piece is broken, you can replace it like for like in the same position, blah blah blah. But parc fermé means the setup configuration that the car is now, it must remain in
Yeah.
this configuration. Not no one can touch it. But if you
Interesting.
suddenly had a lever inside the cockpit that you could just go and move the bib, and no one
Yeah.
saw you ever do
To
it.
me, the McLaren thing looks way more like a performance advantage than this bib thing. Unless somebody can show me, or maybe it's already been proven, that they were adjusting the bib and it did give them an advantage. To me, the
So no
drag
one
is
can
such a
prove
big
that. No one
deal.
knows that.
Yeah. So to me, drag
But
is such
this
a big
is
deal that the
Yeah, but this
McLaren
is
wing bending.
aerodynamics under the car. This is
Yeah,
aerodynamics on the floor. You see how much that's affecting Mercedes now.
I guess that's true. Yeah. That's crazy. I to me, I feel like every team is cheating in one way or the other. We just don't know it. Like
Yeah.
I guarantee you, every single team except Sauber is cheating, and that's why Sauber has 0 points. It's because they're the only ones who
Yeah.
played it fair this year. But nobody's gonna look
Yeah.
at VCarb for what they're cheating at because they're fighting for sixth place or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly. Um, there was Chris Harris, who used to be on Top Gear, was talking about like talking to engineers, and they'll never tell you the ways they're actually cheating,
Yeah.
and they like do stuff to trick other teams. Like he was talking about I think it was Lotus or something back in the day. They used to get a guy at the back of the car. He used to have a kettle inside a towel, and people thought he was getting some part from the back of the car, and he'd
Yeah.
run and hide the kettle in the back of the garage. And everyone's like, "What's that? What's going on in the back of the car?" And it was to distract people from the side of the car because everyone's trying to work out what's going on at the back. So there's all sorts of cheating and counter cheating and trying to trick
Oh
people,
my
and I think
goodness.
it's part of the fun.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
all for it.
I've always said this.
Um,
I've been very consistent. If somebody gets caught cheating, that performance advantage needs to be taken away. But that's only if you get caught cheating. So if you're not caught, if
yeah,
you don't know there's an advantage, keep it. It's fun. But
yeah.
I think the only exception is if it's Mercedes. I think if they get caught cheating, they should go to jail and the team should get disbanded. And I don't think that for Lewis Hamilton at
You
Ferrari.
say while wearing a Mercedes top.
Oh, this is all fake. This is fake fan behavior right here. Fake fan behavior. I don't care about this team anymore. It makes me
Good.
so happy that I'm at this point of the season, the end of the season, of year 3 of these regulations, and Mercedes hasn't figured it out, because I know that I'm not going to care about this team anymore. If this is all I
Yeah,
had going forward, I would be so depressed. I would be like, Lewis is never winning his 8th championship.
yeah,
Because how could he in this era? It's not going to
yeah.
happen. So I'm so happy that we're out of this. Thank you, Lewis Hamilton, for having the foresight that I clearly didn't have, and seeing this like a year ago at this time and making the switch. Because
Yeah,
I wouldn't make it. I wouldn't have made it.
so good.
Yeah.
Speaking of switches, so obviously Daniel Ricciardo is no longer with Toro Rosso,
Us.
AlphaTauri,
He's in our
V5,
hearts.
Minardi,
Yeah.
etc. Yeah. Um, how do you feel about Liam Lawson? How are we supposed to feel about him?
So I did you see the meme I sent where it's like it's Lightning McQueen fighting with the old green car from Cars?
Yeah,
What's his name? Dale, Thunder Dale, or something like that.
yeah.
And he's like fighting with him. He's like, why is this the Lawson Alonso fight?
Yes.
So I really like Liam Lawson. I think he deserved his spot in Formula One more than Ollie Behrman, because Ollie Behrman stepped into a Ferrari. Liam Lawson stepped into what do you call whatever VCarb AlphaTauri, and he earned his points. And I thought he did a great job, and I really liked him. And I'm happy to see him racing, and I'm happy to see him in P9. This was a good race for the newbies that are coming in, because he did well, Pinto did well, and I was like, yeah, this is the future, and I'm happy to be watching these guys race. This race for me a little bit was a peek into the future, because since Lewis was out, I had to figure out who I'm rooting for, and I realized I didn't care about anybody in particular. So I started fixating on the new guys, Colapinto and Lawson, and as they were doing well, I got really excited, and I was like, yeah, I'm so happy that they're doing well. The only constant, of course, is that I wanted George Russell to crash, but that's going to be there forever. So I like him. I'm sad that he came in the way he did, but I said this in our Lost episode. I said this. He's like, those like once a cheater, always a cheater. So like Daniel Ricciardo came in because he essentially stole Nick DeVries' seat. So it's a little like appropriate that he's gonna lose he's gonna leave because somebody else
He came
stole
in
his seat.
when he first came into Hispania Racing Team. He took Narain Carthagene's seat.
Yeah, it's just
Ricardo's always been
it's the
coming in the middle of the
cycle.
season. Yeah,
Yeah. So I don't hate it. And then also when he moved to Renault, didn't he steal Ocon's seat? Right, like Ocon lost the seat when
something
he went
like
to
that.
Renault. I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
Yeah. So Yeah.
Yeah, because I
I
was a
like
bit
Lawson.
think like, yeah, I there's a bit of me that wants to not like him because of the whole way Red Bull handled the situation. But then I'm like, none of this is his fault. It's like he's not the person that should take the blame for this. And apparently, rumor on the street is Red Bull are really, really happy with his performance,
Oh yeah, so am I.
and they're like, if he maintains this, if lots of ifs, but if he
Yeah.
maintains this, there's a big chance that he will be in the Red Bull next year, next to Verstappen.
But see,
And then
that
the question
scares
is,
me.
does Perez get sent backwards to AlphaTauri? Apparently, Perez would not go to AlphaTauri, and AlphaTauri are having conversations with Colapinto to keep him in Formula One next year because there's no space for him at Williams. Albon and Sainz both have a 2-year contract.
So get worried about Lawson going to Red Bull because
Oh, it'll be
that's
terrible for him.
yeah, especially when Max is still there. You need a really tough season driver to go up against him. And where Perez was in 2021 when he joined the team, I think was appropriate. I mean, he was coming off of such a good run. This tail half of 2020, Perez was just on fire. And I think it's because he knew he didn't have a seat. He was just kind of doing his best and no pressure. And I think that's the best Perez can be, is if there's no pressure on him to perform. He just does so well. But, putting anybody else in that seat next to Verstappen, and I get afraid that they're going to get chewed up and spit out. And I don't want Lawson to get chewed up and spit out.
Yeah.
I don't know what the solution is. I don't know if it's Yuki that's going to get that seat or who. But I prefer Lawson get
I don't understand why
full
it's
year.
not Sainz.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's not Sainz because Helmut Marko is petty, and he's angry that Sainz left and went to Renault because Sainz felt he was stuck and stagnating in Toro Rosso.
Yeah.
So Helmut Marko is a very petty man, and Sainz is also like, I can't be bothered with Jos Verstappen and all of his drama. But from a Red Bull perspective, if I was Christian Horner, I'd be like throwing so much cash at Sainz.
Yeah,
Like,
he's the
please come
ideal
drive for
driver
us.
to do it, actually. And he might not beat Verstappen, but he would
But
definitely...
he'd help you win the constructors.
Yeah, absolutely. You can see what he's doing for Ferrari right now. If it was any other weaker driver, in this weekend, you wouldn't have necessarily seen Ferrari finish 1-2. But that 1-2 finish did so much for not only putting them in the hunt for getting Red Bull spot in the constructors, but now people talking about winning the constructors all together.
Which is crazy.
Yeah. Ferrari winning the constructors in a year where neither of their drivers are close to the World Drivers' Championship is just wild.
Yeah.
That's actually what I want to
think
happen more than anything.
I want that to happen just because it would be so crazy.
And I want it to happen because the winner, typically they line up the garages based off of the championship. So I want Lewis to go back to the front to have to get his tires changed, even though he didn't participate in that. But I want it set up for him.
But I think the ideal chaotic situation for this year would be if Ferrari won the constructors and Norris won the drivers.
Oh my god!
How fun would that be?
Is that a flip of 2009 or 2008? Yeah, that's a mix of 2008, right? Yeah, that's not gonna happen
Ferrari won
because
the constructors then.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen because Lando Norris doesn't know how to win a championship. I saw something online. It made me really mad. It was like, if Verstappen wins a championship this year, it proves that he's the absolute GOAT because he went up against Lando Norris. I was like, listen, guys, you want to make the GOAT conversation with Max? There's a lot of ways to do it. That's not one of them.
Oh gosh. Speaking of GOATs, let's get to Mercedes. What are they doing? What is happening?
Mercedes. Somebody was joking that the reason George Russell didn't want Lewis Hamilton's upgrades is because he had a feeling he was going to crash out with them, and I think it was on the money there. I like that Toto Wolff actually said that Lewis Hamilton doesn't lose the car on lap 2. Like, that was at least, it's like the most supportive I've seen Toto Wolff be of Lewis this year, and it's like true. Like, you don't just go from, making up 5 positions on the opening lap to binning the car. Like, Lewis isn't that inconsistent of a driver. You can't just forget everything all of a sudden. So I think that Mercedes never understood this era, and they never understood how to do ground effect. And they've brought James Allison in, and he's at least created a car that's more stable, a better base, but they haven't figured out how to get it into that ideal window. And so the car can be great in SQ1, but then when they get to SQ3, Lewis is qualifying P5, and the same in qualifying, and the same in the race, and they can never get it right. And I think this is the end of it. It reminds me of like great teams like the Patriots. Had this winning combination of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and it was just this. They won everything. They won so much, and then as soon as Tom Brady leaves, you lose that chemistry, and the team falls apart. And that's kind of what I feel like the golden era of Mercedes is. They had this era that they understood. They had a driver that was incredible, and then the whole team just worked together. And as soon as one of those elements is gone, that's it. The team can't. And I think this is the future. I think they're going to be stuck in a Ferrari-esque situation for maybe one or two more eras until they figure it out in the future, if they ever figure it out.
They rushed a whole bunch of parts. They didn't have enough parts to replace George's. They're like, right, we're going to rush all this stuff. And, they're really, really pushing the car to try and get some sort of performance out of it. It's doing badly. And you can tell this is like, me and Mohammed have joked about this before, but because I'm in the last year of my training, I'm at that sort of senioritis thing where I've not given up, but I'm just like coasting to the end now. So you look at the number of points that people have in the Constructors' Trophy. Mercedes are on 344. Ferrari are on 496. There's no way Mercedes is going to come anywhere close to catching Ferrari. So Mercedes are not going to come higher than 4th place.
Mm-hmm.
In 5th place is Aston Martin with 86 points.
I know. They're no
Aston
man's
Martin
land.
are like, it's mathematically impossible for them to catch Mercedes.
Mm-hmm.
Mercedes will finish this year in 4th place. So this is why I'm not a competitive sports person. But if I was Mercedes, I would just be coasting to the end now. Why are you rushing parts? Why are you like causing yourself to crash and waste money? Like, just show up, have a barbecue, have a good time. There's 5 races left. You're going to Mexico. Like, the food in Mexico must be amazing. I've never been, but Mexico, Brazil, Las Vegas, like, those are like 3 party destinations. Go have some fun. I don't understand why they're like stressing themselves out.
I don't understand it either. And when I saw that, okay, first of all, can we just talk about the fact that Mercedes is going to finish 4th place? How shameful is that? For shame. And yeah, this is the car that actually won races with Lewis Hamilton. Yeah. No, I agree with you. I don't think I would be rushing. I'd be really trying to understand the car. I'd be taking things slow and steady. But I think they have so much on the line for next year. They're bringing in Kimi Antonelli. They're losing Lewis Hamilton. They have to prove that they can operate without him. And I think that's probably what their mental calculus is. But just so shameful. I'm so happy to be.
Do you think, extra like random prediction thing for next year?
Yeah.
Like, 1st, 2nd, 3rd next year will be a combination of Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren, right?
Yeah.
Imagine Aston Martin jump up into 4th.
Not next year, maybe 2026.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And put Mercedes into 5th.
I think that can happen in 26. I think if you have Adrian Newey designing the 26 car and Mercedes, it's the 26 is still ground effect era. It's just a different engine. So it's not like a complete revamp of the rules the way 2022 was. So I think it's very possible that we see Adrian Newey come in and design an incredible engine for Aston Martin or incredible aerodynamics, whatever, and then Mercedes falls down to P5. I can see this happening. If you remember, like the 2014 to really 2021, that era for McLaren was so bad, and they were really floundering in the midfield. They couldn't get a step up. They were trying all these things and it wasn't working. I can very much see that happening to Mercedes, and I can see other teams leapfrogging them and doing better.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going to write a letter to Adrian Newey and be like, yo, my cousin Mohammed asked if you could build a good engine, please.
Does he not do engines? I know he does cars, but whatever.
How to build a car, yeah. So, hello?
Yeah, I'm still here.
I touched my earbud, and everything went like, oh, you became very loud all of a sudden.
Whoa.
That's nice.
I don't know what's happening with Arafat's technical issues.
So, in the Constructors right now, Ferrari is at 496 points. Red Bull's at 504. And McLaren way ahead in 544.
Wow.
What race do you think Ferrari is going to overtake? Red
Abu
Bull.
Dhabi.
I think it's going to be at the next one.
Overtake Red Bull? Oh, hold on. What's the gap again?
8 points.
It could be Mexico.
Because it all comes down to how Perez does, right? Even if Verstappen finishes ahead of the two of them, it'll come down to what Perez does.
Yeah, literally. All Sainz has to do is finish like 6 points or 3 positions ahead of Perez, and then Leclerc just has to finish 1 position ahead of Verstappen. Both of those things are very doable, you know?
So I think the next race Ferrari are going to get ahead of Red Bull.
Yeah.
Next prediction, there's 5 races left. Is Verstappen going to win any of them?
That's a good one. I'm going to say he wins Abu Dhabi. And just Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Abu Dhabi has always favored Red Bull.
Yeah. I think he's not going to win another race for the rest of the year.
If that's the case, can you believe that my either good luck charm or jinx, depending on how you look at it, I went to the last race of the season that Max Verstappen would have won.
I thought you did, but you didn't.
What?
Because you won Spain. You won Spain.
Was Spain after Canada, though?
Yeah, it was Canada, then Spain. So you won. Yeah, Canada and then Spain. But it just tells you how long these seasons are. Like, this season has like 400 races or something. Whereas before, like, when Nico Rosberg's dad won, there was like 6 races that year or something. When Schumacher was winning, there was 14, 15, 16 races.
It's such a grind. It's a marathon.
By having such long seasons, actually, each season is kind of like 2 or 3 seasons in itself.
Yeah,
so if the World Championship had been divided in 2, Max would have been champion for the first half of the year and Lando for the second half, right?
Yeah, that's very true. On the one hand, though, the long nature of the season is what allows teams like McLaren to develop and catch up, you know?
Yeah.
Because then the break happens and then Red Bull can take a step forward in the break too. So, but yeah, it's really incredible how this season has completely changed and how in the beginning of the year, we were resigned to thinking that Verstappen would win everything again. And it was a big surprise that Carlos Sainz won in Australia. And we're like, is that the one race he's not going to win? And then, yeah, it turned into quite a spectacle. Before we finish out the episode, though, we need to talk about the spectacle. What do you make of this overtaking Verstappen versus Lambo Norris?
So, to summarize, Verstappen was on the inside of the corner.
Yeah.
Norris was on the outside. They're coming up to the corner. Norris is not ahead at the apex, and therefore Verstappen has the right to take his line.
Mm-hmm.
And so he defends and goes all the way to the edge of the track, which in this guidance, which is a secret document, because it's always better when rules are secret, he then pushes Norris off the track. A lot of people are like, he's technically within the rules. This is fine. Mm-hmm. So I don't think he's broken a rule. The real discussions come around, is the rule a good one or not? Like, you might have seen Jenson Button talking about it on Sky, because Anthony Davidson explained it all and was like, technically this is fine. Mm-hmm. But Button and a lot of other people are like, this is a stupid rule because this is what Verstappen does. We've seen it in Brazil. We've seen it in Saudi. He just doesn't even try to make the corner because he can just roll people off and push them out. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people are like, well, just put gravel there because then Verstappen can't like dive bomb himself and damage his own car if there's lots of gravel everywhere. But the tracks don't make lots of money just off Formula One. It's surprising, but they need to like fund other activities. So they have motorbike races, and MotoGP are like, please don't put gravel there for like our drivers to be shredded as they like fall off. Yeah. And then when me and you show up to the track to do our track day in our own car, they don't want gravel because they don't want our cars to get trapped there. And then they have to like close the circuit, refund people, pull the car out. They'd rather just have safe runoff areas. So from a commercial perspective, there's no incentive to put gravel in. I don't know how you implement the correct rule. Clearly there's like better people than us talking about it. The thing that I would add though, the thing that I would change is inside the car, have some sort of technology where you get a light or beep, 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 whatever so that you know you're ahead. Yeah. Because, you know, Norris was like, should I give the position back? Should I not? Was I ahead at the apex? And they're like, yeah, you were ahead at the apex. And I feel like if you had some sort of light or a beep or something that said, I'm ahead at the apex, you can then continue with the move.
Yeah.
Or if Norris didn't get that beep or that light, then he would have known inside the car, I need to give the position back. He would have given the position back and we would have resumed the race without any drama. And, you know, for us watching on at home, we would have been like, oh, they showed in the replay, the light didn't go off, therefore Verstappen, Norris was behind. And so we would all understand the decision. To some extent, I don't really care what the rule is, if it's one way or the other. I want it to be predictable. I want to be able to watch it and go, oh, they need to give the position back, they don't need to give the position. You know, whatever. That was fair, that was unfair. And I feel like if they just introduced a bit of technology to let us know that live, it would help a lot of people. And
Mhm.
Norris could have not won the race. Obviously, Ferrari won the race. Norris could have dropped behind Verstappen and then had another go.
Yeah.
Maybe he would have
Yeah.
made it, maybe he wouldn't, but who knows? But if he'd had that beep or lack of beep or whatever, he would have known straight away, I
Yeah.
need to give this position back. And we could have resumed the racing because it was laps and laps and laps of great driving between the two of them. And instead,
Yeah.
we just get this whole, is he going to get penalty? Is he not? What's happening? And
Yeah.
that's what I don't like.
So I completely agree with you. I think we definitely have the technology now to A, tell people about track limits, but the same thing, beep, 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 you're off track. And
Yeah.
also B, to say if you're ahead of the apex. Here's the thing, I don't know anything about racing or racing rules, and I'm not going to pretend like I do, like half the people on the internet. But somebody who does know about racing is Bradley Philpott. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, on Twitter.
He's like a karting driver, but he's also a big Lewis Hamilton fan. He's on another podcast, Missed Apex. Anyway, he's very knowledgeable about this stuff. He knows the rules pretty well. And he was saying that, according to the rules, Verstappen truly didn't do anything wrong, and Norris really did. And he brought up a good point. If you look earlier in the weekend or in the race, when Verstappen was fighting Carlos Sainz, Sainz tried the same thing. Verstappen did the same thing, except even though it looked like he wouldn't make the apex, he still managed his position on track and stayed ahead. And Sainz couldn't overtake him outside of the track. So with that logic, if you say that Verstappen knew he could do that and therefore did it later in the race to Norris, you can make an argument that Norris didn't got an unfair advantage overtaking over the race. A lot of people have said over the track. A lot of people have said that Verstappen does this. If you go back to multiple races, Austria last year, so many of them, Verstappen does this dive bomb thing, and then you have to avoid that. Needs a whole other addressing. They need to just address once and for all, is that Verstappen tactic, because he's really the only one that does it consistently, allowed or not. And if the stewards say once and for all it's allowed, I don't think all of a sudden everyone's going to be doing it except for maybe K-Mag, but at that point we can stop these debates. Right now we just don't know because it happens all the time, and it looks like it's the same thing as when other drivers go off track and then get a penalty. We don't know. What really should have happened is McLaren should have told Lando off the bat immediately, there's a chance you're going to get a 5-second penalty. You need to get a 5-second gap. Because he was so close to it and he didn't. And yet had he put all of his effort into building a 5-second gap, none of this would have mattered because he would have been penalized and he would have kept the position anyway. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, but I agree. But I don't like races where you're going to then start applying time penalties and this and that. I would have preferred there was just beep, beep, beep. Yeah. I wasn't ahead. Okay, drop position, resume racing.
Do you watch the Premier League?
Not really. I look at random bits here and there.
So I'm only asking because apparently this year they've instituted AI or something for the VAR where it's hyper accurate or something. And I just wanted to know if that's working out for them or not, because that's basically what we're asking for, is more technology.
Yeah, I think people debate it a lot. I think it works well in some sports like tennis and cricket.
Yeah.
I think in football sometimes there's a bit of debate, but on the whole, I think it's generally good, but sometimes there's the odd decision here or there that you feel is unfair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they need better technology.
Yeah.
Can I just bring up one thing before we go?
Yeah.
There's still a seat. We're talking about Franco Colapinto going to Toro Rosso, AlphaTauri, Minardi, whatever they are. But actually, there's still a seat left for next year, which is the Sauber/Audi seat. So Sauber are the pointless team this year. They've got no points. Peugeot is 21st. Bottas is 23rd. It's a 20-man league. So Logan Sargent is ahead of Bottas, and he has an 11th place. And I don't think at any point this year Bottas is going to get 11th or better. So I think Bottas will stay behind Sargent. So Audi are we might take Bottas. They said, we're thinking about Schumacher, but apparently that was more out of politeness, and they don't have any intention of taking him. But also, who wants to drive for them? The team is getting more and more expensive to run. They've applied for special allowance because there's a cost cap. So apparently salaries in Switzerland, because Switzerland's such an expensive place to live, are allowed to have an extra 20 to 30% for salary, because the average salary in Switzerland is 20 to 30% higher. So the cost cap is going to be adjusted for them. Yeah, but all the people that wanted Audi to have a Formula One team are gone. They've either been fired or removed from position or whatever. So now all these people are at the top of Audi to be like, why do we have a Formula One team? Who wanted this? And remember how Porsche wanted one. So Porsche is also still part of Volkswagen, and has 53% of the votes or something. But also the Qatari government has 17% of Volkswagen.
Yeah.
And there's rumors going on that Audi before they've even started, are like, we don't want this, and they're just going to sell it to the Qatari government.
Oh
Because
my god.
McLaren is owned by the Bahraini government, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they'll like sell Audi to the Qatari government, but be like, yeah, you know what? We license you the name Audi. You can use it and call it an Audi. In the same way, the Bahrain government owns McLaren, but McLaren like wanders around with its McLaren badge or whatever.
Yeah.
Which is not a great place for a team to be, which you can understand now why Sainz didn't go there.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they were like, oh, we'll pay you loads of money. It's going to be like a constructors team, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Whereas now I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this is why Sainz said no to this.
Was there a question in there, or were you just going to gripe and say that's
Who's going to drive for them?
Oh.
God,
You.
there's a question in there. Alternating seats. Whenever I'm not on night shift, you drive. Whenever you're on night shift, I'll drive. That makes sense.
I don't know. I think they should pick up a rookie. Who is that they were thinking of picking up? It was some other name I've never heard of before.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably what's going to
Someone
happen.
in Formula 2, right?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Look, they picked up Colapinto. I'd literally never heard of him before, and now I'm in love with the guy, just like everybody else on the internet. So,
yeah.
Did you see that picture of him where he's just like surrounded with like models, and it's like, Franco, don't forget about me when you're famous. It's just a picture of him surrounded by models. That guy is like just oozing
Gabriel
swagger.
Bortoleto.
Yeah, there you go. That's probably who it'll be. If I don't know, I mean, I think what a cursed team. It's so sad that that's a team that's gonna ride out Bottas. Bottas is better than that. People have to know. So is Zhou Guanyu. Better than 23rd and 21st or whatever they are. Yeah, I don't know. Depressing for sure. I don't know what to say. I guess we'll see next year what happens.
Predictions for Mexico.
I think Formula 1 is going to play that Mexican theme song again. That's my prediction.
Correct. Yeah, winner?
McLaren. But I think Verstappen finishes second.
I'm gonna say Leclerc.
Ooh, nice. I don't think Lando's going to win the championship. I don't think he can take enough points off of Verstappen.
No, he's not.
Even in
like
2021,
Verstappen will win the championship.
Anytime Lewis had a great race, somehow Verstappen finished second. Anytime Verstappen had a great race, somehow Lewis still finished second. Like, they could not get rid of it. You need to be incredible to steal a championship off the other. And I just don't think Lando's there yet. Maybe if he had a whole season. I think
the realistic outcome is McLaren's going to win the constructors and Verstappen's going to win the drivers. But my preferred outcome would be Ferrari to win constructors and Norris
McLaren to win. Yeah, that would be so funny.
The drivers.
All right, thank you everybody for sitting with us for this past hour.
So we get to bed.
Yeah, we'll get to bed. We'll put this episode out this
the last 100
no
hours.
accounting errors.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys all after Mexico.
Bye.